social media world, what's going on? So yesterday, there's been a lot of talk in the crypto space regarding some Bitcoin, 50 Bitcoin that was moved from one of the earlier, earliest wallets since the genesis of Bitcoin. Um, I thought about doing this video yesterday, and then I had to catch myself, and I'm going to explain why. 50 BTC just moved for the first time since 2009, but it doesn't look like Satoshi. Okay, so, initially I saw this, and my first reaction was, well, what's the big deal? Because I didn't understand why this was newsworthy. I don't know if and it wasn't from a perspective of like I didn't really care or anything like that. I'm looking at what's going on here, and okay, so 50 BTC moved for the first time since 2009. I look at the cryptocurrency market, right? I pay attention to crypto, of course, and I look at the market, and I think to myself sometimes how like fragile the market is. Anytime there's some type of movement that causes a flash crash in Bitcoin, people panic. People become fearful. They're afraid and they panic. And this is not any different than any other market that's out there, right? Because you're talking about emotions, things that are driven by emotions, especially market, trading, investing, whatever it involve anything involving with, playing with money and currency, not necessarily playing, but you get the idea. People become, they just react without thinking, you know. But after being involved or studying this market for so long and other markets, I've learned that, some of the biggest mistakes that a person can do is react off of emotion, right? FOMO, fear of missing out, is a phenomenon that describes this. It's like this emotionally driven reaction that we have that motivates us because we feel like we're going to miss out on something that's good. Or we better do something quick because if we don't, we're going to miss out on something that's happening that's bad. And sometimes that doesn't work in our favor. And not more than sometimes, oftentimes it doesn't work in our favor. And I don't think this is any different. This situation with 50 Bitcoin being moved, from an early wallet. I mean, like, why is that a big deal? Why is that a big deal? When so many times, how many times have we seen thousands of Bitcoin get moved from one exchange somewhere else to somewhere else, and that causes like so much market manipulation, flash crashes, and all these crazy types of activity that happens in the market. But then Bitcoin continues to do what it does. It hasn't disturbed, the blockchain's network effect whatsoever. And even with this here, the 50 BTC that just moved, okay, the price at the time in USD was hovering around maybe 9,800, and it dropped to about 9100. So what does, what's the sense in creating or getting like just panicking? What I don't know, because my thing is this: if this is about decentralization, if this is about, peer-to-peer transactions, sending peer-to-peer crypto to one another, borderless, permissionless, censorship resistant, all these network effects, decentralized. Why should this even like really matter? Why should people think and care about 50 bitcoins being moved from one wallet to another? I'm just asking that question because I'm looking at it also. I'm trying to be objective here, even though I am partial to crypto. I love cryptocurrency. But news like this shouldn't shake people to the point where they just become extremely scared and just want to just do whatever. If you have a long-term view, I guess, if you have a long-term outlook, then it'll be countless moments like these that are taking place in the short term. You can't count how many times there's going to be fear riddled throughout the entire market. But if you have a long-term view, you're winning. The person who or whoever who moved this 50 BTC back then is up. Is up. And what I mean by up, when you're moving something almost, above 450K or half a million K, in 2009, this 50 Bitcoin was worth chump change. So 11 years later, it was moved. Okay. This person, I just don't get it. If you have a long-term view, what does it matter what happens in the short term? But I understand if, people have different reasons and motivations that drive them to do whatever they want to do. And that's part of the freedom that cryptocurrency affords everyone. You could do whatever you want. And with that premise, anybody could do whatever they want with their crypto. Why should, I'm looking forward to why should one action just send shockwaves through the entire market? And I think this is happening because it's a market that's still in its infancy. People are fragile, and on top of that, you have all this world crisis, pandemic, economic turmoil taking place. But even before the global crisis and economic turmoil, whenever there was some type of movement with a large amount of crypto, it sends shockwaves through the market, right? Because of its infancy and the human aspect of emotions. People are scared, people panic, and people are afraid to miss out. But I think this is something like over a period of time, once people, have a little bit more understanding and control and maybe discipline, these things won't really have that much of an effect, because a lot of this is market manipulation. A lot of these actions that take place is, people trying to, bring the prices down. Not necessarily, in my opinion, to destroy crypto or destroy the blockchain, but to actually possibly even accumulate or help others accumulate or whatever. Folks have if this is something like, this is why I say this is probably where it's not probably, we're still in a very fragile infancy state. The market is extremely young compared to stocks, bonds, mutual funds, commodities, different markets. This is precious metals. This is extremely young. And it shows because yesterday so many articles because I say yesterday because today is the 21st and this article was written on the 20th. So many articles were just sounding the alarm on this action that just took place, which is the right of anyone who has their private keys to do what they wish with their crypto. Why get all flustered? I don't understand. I don't understand. In other words, like, okay, anyone, you have your crypto, you could do whatever you want. You could do whatever you want with your crypto. That's what it's all about, I think. So, folks in the community, those who know, those who, who've been in the community, who understand the crypto and who understand, the market swings and fluctuations and volatility, because this is an extremely volatile market, is very high risk, high reward. We know that these things are going to happen, and we know emotion drives this market a great deal. But so does calm, so does discipline, so does having just like a steady outlook in what's going on and understanding, what position you're playing in this and how you're going to allow this market to help you. Help, what benefit are you going to allow yourself to experience? What strategy are you going to allow yourself to work on to benefit from this market? But emotions need to kind of like be controlled better, because this is not, we just had a halving last week and people are just jumping for any little thing, any movement in BTC, and it's just like, seems like, things are just, all this hype. It's not necessary. Now BTC's hovering around 9100, but that's just the nature of the market. If it's hovering around, let's say it drops down 7K, 5K, hell, 1,000, that's the nature of the market, I guess. It's just what it is. It's not for everybody. It's really not for everyone. But it's been the most successful vehicle, the most successful asset class in the last 11 years since Bitcoin and the rest of crypto has been in existence. So we have to keep things in a certain perspective, I think. Take care of yourselves.